The Higher Education Minister, Dr. Blade Nzimande, has assured students, accommodation providers and universities that payments will be made in future by the NSFAS Student Aid Scheme. He was addressing a briefing on his decision to dissolve the NSFAS board and appoint an administrator for the next 12 months. Katlego Sekgoto was there, and she joins us live with the newly appointed administrator of the fund, Freeman Nomvalo. A lot been said, Katlego, by the Higher Education Minister, Dr. Blade Nzimande. Take us through that briefing.
A very good afternoon, Nhlanhla. We heard from the Minister the intervention set to be made now that the board of NSFAS has been dissolved. And the Minister really outlining there that this decision was not taken lightly and that a lot of processes were followed or thinking happened behind it, but really in the terms of the mandate of the board, not meeting some of the requirements by the board and not meeting up to the standard that is intended to ensure that students are able to go to universities and TVET colleges and have their access to their allowances, and for students to actually be funded through, the NSFAS scheme. But I do have with me the new administrator at NSFAS to give us more details about his journey moving forward with the National Student Financial Aid Scheme. Mr. Nomvalo, thank you for your time. Just take us through. We did hear from the Minister what your work will entail going forward, but just give us a brief overview of what's the first step for you.
Thanks, Katlego. And obviously, this is a difficult and complex task. The first thing is to meet all the stakeholders, starting with employees, having conversations with them, understanding some of the challenges they might be facing, but also meeting the students and the national leadership of the students to understand their frustrations and work together to find solutions. And all the other stakeholders that NSFAS has, USAF and so on. I think it's important that we figure out a way in which we work together. The Minister said that we're on the same side, and the importance of this institution is therefore necessitates that we cover all the bases.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of the frustrations that students have continuously raised in terms of allowances not being paid on time, are there immediate interventions to some of the student frustrations?
I think, as the Chief Operating Officer said earlier, already on Friday, NSFAS has taken steps to resolve some of those. But I think the most important thing is to figure out what broke down in terms of the processes, how to fix those processes so that we make sure that while we are responding to a crisis at the moment, we establish a process that is seamless, that will ensure that students are attended to quickly. The Minister was very clear in outlining the mandate as well that, yes, we need to deal with 2024, but also we need to be looking forward and saying what are we putting in place to mitigate against those recurring again.
Mm-hmm. Some in the sector might look at NSFAS and say this is a sinking ship and it's really, really tough to bring it up again, considering the long-standing issues there. Your response in terms of some of those issues that have just been going on for a very, very long time?
I think there is no problem that is so big that it cannot be solved. And we have to maintain a positive attitude. We have to maintain an attitude that says it's possible to make it happen. I don't think it is that complex, but the issues that make it to exist in the first place are the issues we need to deal with. And some of those issues may not just be the administrative, the inefficiencies and so on. And we need to dig deep and understand those so that we can deal with them once and for all.
Mm-hmm. And I guess just another question in terms of the student frustration, in terms of communication with NSFAS, almost as if students are sent from university to NSFAS back to the universities or to the colleges. That line of communication, the immediate intervention to make it easier.
Look, I can state an aspirational statement in relation to that. NSFAS, the very second word in the name is students. It was established in order to enable students to obtain education. So if we have as an attitude in the institution that says students come first. And we do everything possible to make sure that students do not have to suffer. Students must focus on their studies and not on whether accommodation is paid or not.
Yeah. And I guess just on top of that, your last message or your message to students as you step into this role.
I'm willing to work with you. Let's find solutions. As the minister said, let's stop throwing stones at each other. I understand the frustrations that you have. I understand they are genuine frustrations, but my mission is to find ways in which we work together to resolve them.
All right. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you. And Nhlanhla, you heard it there from the new administrator at NSFAS, Mr. Nomvalo, just outlining his optimism as he steps into this new role and looking at short and long-term solutions to some of the problems faced at NSFAS.
Thanks to our reporter, Katlego Sekgoto. Of course, seeing that briefing, which was held by the Higher Education Minister, Dr. Blade Nzimande.